Yes, yes, because you work so hard at making it that way and making sure that people have that. And when you hear people, talking about it when you didn't even ask them, it feels really good. It also feels good when your world, people are in your world.
Welcome to Metaverse Degen. I'm Lion. Unfortunately, Raptor's sitting in the middle of on a tractor in the middle of a field moving grains and stuff, so he's a little disposed of right now. But I am joined here by a wonderfully esteemed guest. Oh,
Hi, I'm Dr. Hardbeatz.
oh, thank you very much for joining us. I'm very honored to have you.
Thank
Oh,
you.
you're welcome. So, what are you most known for here in VR, and how did you get started and even into VR in the first place?
Yeah, so in Vrchat and in Altspace, I got started in Altspace. I'm most known for being a DJ, and now I'm organizing parties. The second thing I'm known for is building a world that won a prize through Exponential Destiny on the United Nations SDG. Um, so the United Nations is meeting in 2030, and they have some information they like people to spread so everyone knows what their goals are. I built a world with a team. Based on the healthcare goals. So we built the world is in VR chat, and they came and looked at it, and we won a prize.
Wow.
So that's the second thing I'm known for. Yeah.
Wow. So I got a bunch of questions after that. I will start with what initially led you to getting into VR and alt space, and what is alt space?
Yeah. So Altspace was one of the first apps, I think, VR app. It goes way back to the 80s, somebody has told me. So it was an app owned by Microsoft, that where you can go and build and hang out, and it was a lot of fun. During COVID, I got my Oculus. I was always interested in the metaverse, and I love technology. In real life, I am a physician. Um, so when I got my Oculus, I looked through all the apps and I saw an app that promised that they could teach you to DJ. I thought that was fun because I've always loved music. So I paid for the app and I started learning to DJ and I loved it. And I started socializing. With COVID, it was difficult to socialize. I started DJing through the app called Tribe, and they basically brought me into Altspace DJ. And when I went into Altspace, I met a lot of people. I became part of a group called EDVR. So I had a lot of meeting. It was a lot of fun. And
Oh,
so I've been now in the metaverse for 2 to 3 years, and I'm loving it.
oh wow. So you didn't. So lots of questions. I'm running a billion miles a second. So for as a physician, and when you're first coming into VR and the metaverse and alt space and VR chat, how do you feel about the space and the technology so far?
I think it's an amazing technology. I think that it will grow a lot in the next 10 to 20 years. I think there is a lot of potential in healthcare, in counseling, in teaching. I love education, and educating people about anything. Of course, I'm more interested in educating people about their health and how to stay healthy. I think that for a lot of people, reading books might not be the easiest, but if you show them something that is almost real, they can remember it better. It's basically a different type of learning and has been proven to be superior over reading and book learning, and actually telling people to come into the metaverse and see what they're trying to learn. Um, so I think VR is an amazing new technology. Um,
Okay. Well, that's pretty awesome. So you said before that you built a world for a United Nations group. May I ask what was the basis for the world and what was the response to what you've made in VR as a whole from the United Nations?
Yes, so the goal was to teach people about the SDGs, the different goals the United Nations has for the different SDGs. So we wanted to create a world that wasn't just for learning, but also that really interested people. So since I love music so much and I was DJing in Outspace, I decided to build a world based on sound and music. So there is an education area where you have education on the way the brain is affected by sound and music. And we have some animation on a human structure. So it's very easy to learn. So that teaches people how you can learn in VR. And we have another building with binaural beats where people could go. There are four levels in that building. One is focused on ADHD, one is focused on depression. Um, and so you can go in there and basically have different tones on each ear. And studies have shown that doing that can help with different brain states like ADHD. So our goal was to do a study in VR and see if you can receive that kind of treatment in VR instead of, in your neighborhood where you have to jump into the car, spend gas, and there are a lot of people pulled into VR when they have agoraphobia or they have other mental states or physical illnesses that prevent them from leaving their home, and we know that socialization is very important.
Mm.
And so sometimes I do meet people like that in VR, and I can see how VR is very, very helpful in creating that socialization for them so they don't feel alone.
Mm.
um so yeah, and the world did really well. It won one of the prizes, and yeah, we're thinking about maybe doing that study in the future, and writing it up.
Okay. So I have a question. I have a rough understanding from when you showed me the world before, but I want to ask the question for those who may not know. What is binaural beats and how can those help in medicine or with physicians' work, so the human body?
Yeah. Yeah. So the brain, if you have different megahertz sounds on the different sides of the body, you may not hear the difference, but your brain hears the difference, and that allows the brain to heal.
Mm.
So they've studied that in many different, brain disorders. But what I noticed when I was building the world in alt space is that people would come in and they all had something to report. Somebody had to go to the dentist and they had been putting it off, and they walked into the binaural beats and they said, "Oh, I really have to get to dentist." Somebody else came in and they suffered from anxiety and they said, "Wow, this makes me feel my stomach." And we know that anxiety is stored in the stomach.
Mm.
Somebody with a history of trauma said when they listened to those beats, they couldn't stop crying, and they kept going to the world in Altspace and they kept crying, and they asked, "Do they need therapy?" And I said, "Of course, it would be good to talk to somebody about, what went on with you." And so to me, even though the study hasn't been done yet, I feel like the binaural beats allow you to feel your own body and to feel the parts of your body that need healing. And
Mm.
I think when you sit there for 15 minutes and focus on what you're feeling, you're bringing your brain attention to that part of your body. And so maybe it's more better able to heal naturally, or for you just to realize that you have that feeling in your body and you can take care of it. So that's
Mm.
how I see it.
Okay. And what what was the inspiration or what led you to want to pull that kind of stuff into VR and try it here versus doing it in the real world?
Um, we decided to build that world and use binaural beats, since I was very much into sound and music. And so binaural beats are a type of sound that is healing as opposed to, music, which we also know is healing.
Mm.
But we know that it makes people happy. We know that, everyone loves to sing. And when people are in the hospital and they listen to music, their outcomes are better than if they don't. So, I wanted to use binaural beats as more of an older way. In some countries, binaural beats have been used for decades. Of bringing on healing. So I thought it would be another way to use sound
Mm,
as a healing tool compared to music.
okay. So, what kind of effect does sounds or music have on the human body that would allow that kind of healing process?
Yeah, so if you go to the world, you will see the brain is displayed, and you will see the different parts of the brain that light up when sound or music are played. It goes through our ears into the different parts of the brain, and it has been shown to increase brain activity throughout the brain, increase activity in the adrenal glands. People who play a musical instrument have been shown to have higher IQ points. So it affects the brain globally, in a good way. Like I mentioned before, people who suffer from depression or mental illness do better when they listen to music, feel better when they listen to music. People with Alzheimer's who do not respond will sing to music, and even though they're not responding, to people around them. So sound is very important to humans. I mean, the way we played with sounds goes back to the old stories. The drums. Every culture has the sounds that they play to celebrate, or to just let people know what's going on, like a scary noise that is played in the town. People know, okay, maybe there's danger. We have alarms. We use sound all the time
Mm,
to communicate with each other. So sound is very important part of human life.
wow. So, what that I may do a little bit of a sidestep question as well. From your experience in VR and how much you've played, how do you feel about using it this long for a couple of years, and what keeps on bringing you back?
I have made great friends in VR. I feel as if it's difficult to make good friends in your neighborhood or in your town
Mm,
because there's so many different personalities. Yet in VR, there's so many people that you share a lot of personality traits with. I think all the people who are interested in VR are a little bit neurodiverse, think outside the box. So you have more in common with people in VR. So since I've been in VR, I've been very happy because I talk to people that make me happy, and I
mm,
discuss interesting ideas. I'm building worlds. People come and enjoy it. It's probably the best hobby that I've had. So now it's my hobby. And I've made friends. So it's really hard to
mm.
stay away from it.
Okay. So, as another little question as well, what what happened? Were you there in alt space when it stopped being around, and what brought you from alt space into VR chat?
Um, well, Allspace closed.
Mm,
Um, So, unfortunately, we had to pick a different platform for all the friends we'd made in VR. Um, VR chat was a little bit more difficult to get used to because of all the settings you have to put in and getting used to the menu.
mm,
But I went to some other platforms, and I thought VR chat had more possibilities. And I turned out I was right because a lot of people that had moved to other platforms are coming now into VR chat. Um, so I kind of liked what I saw here. It was a big community, um, and I had more space to grow here with the
mm,
different possibilities there are here in VR chat.
mm. So, what has your been experience in VR chat coming from alt space to here? Has it been something to easily adjusted to, or did it take some work? And how do you feel
It
about the
took it.
platform? Sorry, I layered
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah, that's okay. It took me a few months to adjust to it, and I wish
Mm,
all my friends would take that time to adjust to it and realize how much fun they can have. But now that I've adjusted, it really, I've met people from all over the world, and you can come in here any time of the day or night, and there's something going on. So it was worth the time of adjustment for me.
Mm.
Um, I think it probably took about 2 months.
Okay. Now that you've been in VR chat a while, which if Altspace came back, would you go back to it or would you stay here?
That's a hard question. Um, the only thing I would say that I would like to see in VR chat is a events board
Mm.
where people can, click on the events and be reminded because you miss a lot of events or you can't let people know what's going on. You have to make a group. So I think that's the only thing I miss from Altspace. Um,
Mm.
I all the people from Altspace that I know I'm kind of in contact with some way or another. So I don't know. I think I might still go back to Altspace sometimes, but I think I would stay in VR chat.
Okay. By the way, there was no right or wrong answer. It's how you generally feel. Whether you stay or go is on you. I'm just curious because I've met a few different people from various platforms, and that's just one of the things I'm curious about. People come from like Altspace or Neos or whichever platform, how they feel about VRChat after spending time here. Do they prefer one or the other, and why? Stuff like that. Curiosity. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I now prefer VR chat, of course, because I've been here and the things you
mm,
can do here that you can't do in alt space. It's
mm,
hard to go back because there's so many more possibilities here in VR chat with playing around with your avatars. In alt space, the avatars were pretty much set. So we're now used to all the fun things that were difficult for us to understand at first.
hmm. Okay. What kinds of things does VRChat do better than Altspace, and what kinds of things does Altspace did better than VRChat?
I think Altspace was a smaller platform, so the community was more tight knit. People really huddled together well, and they made very tight relationships. There were also events that people went to every week. VR Chat is a bigger community, so people tend to wander more and get lost. So there's a lot going on, so people aren't as tight as they were in Altspace. But
Mm,
when it comes to what the possibilities are for building, the possibilities of growing and bringing more people into your group, the possibilities with your avatar, I think that VR chat um, is a lot better.
hmm. Okay. So I want to do another little bit of sidestep. Fair warning, I'm going to be all over the place, and I apologize ahead of time. Um, you said earlier that you are a physician. What got you started on that track, may I ask? Is that something you always wanted to do, or something you found yourself doing?
Well, I think I was maybe between 2 and 4 years old, and my mom was walking me to a babysitter. Well, it was like a little school, a preschool. And I remember, I think somebody was hurt and they were lying on the sidewalk and there was some blood in their hair. And I still remember the story, of walking and seeing somebody hurt and not having anyone help them. And I think, by the time I was 4 years old, I told my mom I wanted to be a doctor for Halloween. Like I wanted to wear a doctor outfit. And she said, well, they don't have any doctor outfits for girls. You're going to have to be a nurse, and I was really upset. So I think, it started very young in life. And I was always interested in how the human body works. So then I followed through on, what I wanted to do.
Hmm. Okay. How long was the schooling to become a doctor? Is that
Oh,
something that takes a lot
well,
of work or not?
yes. After high school, you have to complete 4 years of college, and then you have to take exams to be accepted into medical school. And that takes another 4 years. And then after that, you have to take some exams to pass, and then you pick your specialty. So that's another 3 years.
Oh
And then,
wow.
depending on your specialty, I picked pediatrics. So that was 3 years. But initially, I wanted to be a surgeon. So I wanted to be a cardiothoracic surgeon, and that would have taken 7 years after medical school. But I decided not to do that. So I did 3 years instead.
Okay. So, what made you want to choose pediatrics over being a surgeon?
When during medical school we had rotations, and I realized I really was happier playing with the kids and taking care of kids and seeing them get better than I was, during surgery because it was very stressful. People they weren't very happy, the surgery teams and the nurses aren't as happy as the pediatric teams. They're always having
Mm.
fun. So that's why I chose pediatrics.
Okay. So, with your background in the medical field, how do you feel about VR as a whole after experiencing it and doing the research that led to the world? How do you feel about like from that angle?
Yeah, I really think that medicine will grow in VR.
Mm.
Like counseling, feeling like you're there with the person instead of doing it through video or through the phone. um I think those medical fields, or I people use the VR headset in the hospital to make people feel better. You can make somebody feel like they're not in the hospital. When I put on my headset, I'm here. I'm not where I am, so I can be in a really, small room somewhere, and yet in VR, I'm out here in, nature, and my brain really believes that I'm there. So there are many possibilities. I can't even think
Mm.
of all the possibilities there are with VR in medicine. Um, and I think, it will really grow and be useful, especially for mental health.
Okay. Is there any instances of VR being used in medicine today?
Yeah. So people get headsets in hospitals when they're having procedures done, so they don't have to see or think about what's going on, in real life and just play. Um, there are studies being done in Europe. I've worked with one of the doctors in Europe. We built the world together, where they give headsets to older, lonely people, to improve their mental health.
Hmm.
So VR is starting to be used a lot. A lot of studies are using it in the hospital to make people feel more comfortable.
Okay. I remember reading a couple years ago about VR being a good alternative to anesthesia. Is that what the kind of thing you're alluding to in the with the first point?
Yeah, so if somebody is having a procedure done, if they don't look, they may not feel the pain as much, right?
Mm.
And if they're in a peaceful world of something they like, their brain is not focusing on the pain. If they really like what they see, they might calm down, and the outcomes, of whatever procedure they're getting done would be better than them screaming and being scared and, having their fear hormones go up during the procedure.
Okay. Is is VR is VR that effective as an alternative? May I ask?
I can't say that it is 100% effective. I think the studies are still out. There's still studies being done.
Mm.
And I think it's probably based on who the person is, who you are. Are you able to put on the headset and relax? Or, do you have a harder time, being in a headset? Some people may not like it.
Mm.
So I think it's still out for us to figure out how to use it. The studies are promising, but I don't think it's the final word yet. Um,
Okay. Now, on the other point, I have a question: is what kind of is VR also that effective in helping people who are lonely?
yes, people who are lonely make friends. They can go to different events. So I know, those studies are also very promising. Now, there's several people doing studies, so the studies need to be able, when you do a study that's valid, it needs to be able to be repeated and still show the same results. So, we're still having studies being done, but it would make sense that you don't feel alone. You could be in VR with someone and feel like they're right there.
Okay. So I have another a bit of a weird question based upon like being lonely. What kind of effects on a person does being lonely have? At least biologically, anyway.
Well, if you feel lonely, if you have any illness, you would feel sicker. You might become sicker because having a good outlook on life helps you mentally and your body physically, because our body is affected by our mental health, to heal better. But if you're lonely and you're not socializing, you don't have a positive outlook on life. Everything, feels worse, and gets worse. Studies have shown that people who have a positive attitude after surgery do better than people who don't have a positive attitude. So
Mm.
it affects your healing and it affects how long you stay in the hospital. So it also affects, if you're lonely at home.
Oh,
Um, or if you're talking to people and having fun and, your brain chemicals are flowing and your body's able to heal.
okay. So, from my understanding, is how you feel, uh, your outlook on life has a good impact on how your body does.
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay. As also another little side tangent as well, what got you into? What was your first instances of DJing, and what were your experiences like in the beginning?
In VR or in real life?
Why not both?
Well, as a physician, you do a lot of teaching. You teach your patients, you teach medical students. During medical school, we get a lot of teaching and we learn to teach. We're forced to give talks. And so we learn to teach. Like teaching is a big part of being a physician. So throughout medical school and residency, we had to teach people that were learning what we had already learned. And I definitely loved that. I loved giving PowerPoint presentations. Um, in VR, I gave a lecture in EDVR where I had a PowerPoint presentation. I teach people in the world that we built. That lecture is in that world. And I love when people come in and listen to that lecture, and I know it's amazing to them. Um, so I really enjoy it. I really enjoy sharing knowledge.
Okay. So, may I ask what that lecture was about?
So that lecture showed the effects that sound and music have on the brain as the sound travels through the middle ear and into the brain, and it shows you the parts of the human body that light up and that are affected.
Okay. So, what initially led you into DJing as well? Either real life DJing or VR DJing. What got you behind the decks? One would say.
Yeah. So during medical school again, I was a teenager that didn't party a lot. I didn't go out. I was just always studying
Hmm?
because that's what I enjoyed. And so during medical school, I started going out with my friends and we started going out on weekdays. And I realized I loved music. And so I loved to dance, and that was my movement. And I did a lot better with studying and my grades when I would go out, listen to music and dance, actually move my body. So I continued to do that throughout my life, go out. Then I started going to different music festivals, and I really love how happy everyone is together and listening to music and sharing the experience of being like one with everyone. Everyone is so happy when they're together listening to music. So I like that vibe. Um, and so when I got my Oculus, I said, hey, maybe I should try DJing, and I knew a lot of the songs, and I enjoyed it, and I was good at it. So yeah, it's my experience of using music to have fun and to connect with my friends.
Hmm. What were some of your first sets like when you first got into it? Was it what you thought it was?
Yeah, at one point I spent like 7 hours looking through songs, so I DJ'd for 7 hours straight. So I really, really enjoyed it, and I took some lessons from people in Tribe, and they said you're really good. So now I'm a resident DJ for Tribe, so
Hmm.
that's the app. And so I have a community of DJs that we talk about things or learn things from each other. And that's great.
Hmm. Did you find DJing in VR to be something easy to get into? Did it feel natural to you?
Yes, very natural because um, it's so easy to put on your Oculus and have the decks right in front of you. You know, I don't have to travel anywhere. I don't have to buy decks. I don't have to worry about, like speakers or anything and decks and mics. You just go into the app and it's right there and you can spin into VR chat. You can spin into alt space. It was so easy um, that it made it a very pleasant experience for me.
Hmm. May I ask, what again was that app called that you could pull into VR to DJ?
Tribe is Tribe,
Hmm.
Tribe DJ Academy, and it's a lot of fun.
Oh, so you're a resident DJ with that group. How did you initially meet them? Hello, I'm gonna quickly interrupt your video. Please come follow us on any of our socials. We have a card down that way in the description, Metaversedegen card.co. You can find us on Discord. You can find us on Twitter, which X, whatever. Right here in this space, you'll see the at. You can find me, Lion. And as well, we have a Patreon, which we've started a whole other show as a thank you for those who've signed up, such as Training Fangs, Forbidden Zero, and Niche. So thank you all for watching the video on how these games are going. I'll leave you to the rest of it. Enjoy.
So when I initially bought the app, they had community sessions where all the DJs or the people who had the app would talk to each other and hang out. Um, and they would teach you. They teach you how to DJ.
Mm.
Um, so I was interested and I wanted to know more. And so they were like, yeah, you're really good. You're very interested. We have a resident DJ program. So I passed the test. I had to make I think a 30-minute set, and I did that. And they said, yep, you're good enough to be a resident DJ. So the resident DJs have events where they will DJ one after the other to different, like to Twitch or to YouTube. And so I'm part of that. And what I'm doing now in this world, I have the different resident DJs come and spin every Saturday. We have an event here and we have 4 hours of music on two stages. So it's a total of 8 hours of music and it's all different genres.
Oh, wow. What was it like going from DJing to running events for you? Was it uh, easy to get into or was there some challenges?
There is challenges of building a world where, that we have two screens going, and we want the best experience for the people who come here. And this world could have 80 people in it with two VRCDN streams. So the challenge is making the world light enough that everything is stable, yet the quality of music is great without crashing.
Mm.
So those are still the challenges that we're, dealing with. We've done good so far. It's getting better, but we still, want to make the world even lighter and want to be able to put more people in it.
Okay.
Um, I'm also, learning about how to spread the word because there's no event board in VR chat. So how do people know and remember? Um, and so we're thinking about having somebody who can promote the events. Um, so yeah, we do have some challenges, but that's what it's all about is, learning.
Mm.
Um,
Okay. So what have been some things that you've picked up or enjoyed from running events and DJing in VR?
I think I love when people come in the world and I see them dancing and having fun and telling me they really enjoy being here. I got a compliment last Saturday. Somebody said, a lot of the clubs in VR chat are small rooms. And then I came in here and I feel like I'm outside. I love this festival type setting. I feel so free, like I can walk around and I don't feel claustrophobic. So thank you for, building this. So that was a great compliment. And Another compliment, somebody checked their menu and they said, "Wow, I got like such a great FPS in here. This is so nice, you know." So those things make you happy because you know that, you've tried so hard to make the experience good and people are noticing.
Hmm. We've had another rave group owner, I believe, Deviate, mentioned the same thing. Where one of the best compliments they've got was a similar thing. Wow, I have frames in here when it's a full instance. So
Yeah.
I could see why that
Yeah.
would be a pretty good compliment to get for you.
Yes, yes, because you work so hard at making it that way and making sure that people have that. And when you hear people, talking about it when you didn't even ask them, it feels really good. It also feels good when people are in your world, and it's not crashing, or people are asking you, to film in your world or be part of your team. Um, and actually, like we're applying for a grant, to be able to pay our DJs and to be able to pay the people, who work for us, so their time is not like, that we appreciate their time. So
Mm.
that feels good. It feels good to get people something that makes them happy.
Okay. What makes you wish to pay your DJs and the people who help you out? From what I see, a lot of people in VRChat, from what I've talked to, enjoy. It's kind of interesting. I've heard some people say they wish to pay DJs, and some people say like everyone should do it for the sake of doing it, I guess is a way to put it. What makes you wish to go that far to apply for a grant?
um Why not? If I can get it, why wouldn't I pay the people who do the work? I mean, I see this world also again as a mental health kind of place where people can
Mm,
come listen to sound, their favorite music, and feel better. So there are grants out there to, be able to pay the people who spend time coming and playing for you, people who've built the world, help you build, or help you, spread the word. There's so much that goes into creating these events. I think, why not? There are VR grants, why not? I totally agree with doing it for fun because I have done many parties for fun and for my friends. Um, but if it's possible, why not? It doesn't have to be one or the other. They could do it for fun and get paid too if we can get the grant.
mm,
Um, and, somebody in Tribe, the owner of Tribe, told me it's always good to feel like you matter if you get paid for what you do. I necessarily don't have to have that, but I think some people would love that, like that, and feel, appreciated.
mm. Okay. Well, that is actually a really wholesome and amazing thing for you to do. So I wish you the best with getting those grants. I do have another question in those terms. I actually didn't know there was VR grants. What kinds of things do they look for? What are they about?
Well, some grants want to support art. Some grants want to support creating community, and this is what, I would be part of, to create community. Again, socialization, so people feel like they have somewhere to go or something to do in
Mm.
VR.
Okay. Now, do you think a lot of those grants see VR as something worth investing in?
Yeah, I think some of these grants, the people are in VR themselves, and that they really care about the VR community and want to see it grow. So, they want to support the people who, are part of it.
Hmm. Okay. It's actually really awesome to know that there are people out there wanting to invest in VR like that. Yeah, I think it's awesome. Um, so, so what has been in your experience in VR as a whole? Is this what makes this an enjoyable experience for you? At least VR in general.
I think the people, of course, it always
Mm,
comes down to people. Um, I think, the way we interact with each other, the respect we give each other, the fun we have together. Um, it's the people that make it an amazing experience. And like I said again, I feel like I find more people in VR that um, I'm interested in knowing more about than in real life.
Mm.
So I may be wrong, but that's how I feel.
Okay. So, how many people from VR have you met that made you feel like you much prefer them over people in the real world?
Oh, many, many people. I mean, in the group, the EDVR, many teachers, many um, people that love to learn new things. Again, VR is a new technology, and
Mm.
people who are interested in that love to learn and see new things. So that's why I think we have a lot in common. We enjoy the same things, and so I find it more, easily find things I have in common with people in VR.
Hmm. That's a very good point. Um, I'm actually quite surprised. Well, as a little side tangent, but also still sort of on topic. You're among some of the one of the first doctors I've met in VR. To be honest with you, so have you met a lot of people with your same degrees here?
Yeah, I met another doctor, Jose Ferrer. He is in Barcelona, and he helped me build the world that we won the prize in. There's another doctor from Malta and another doctor from Dubai area
Oh.
that um, we've all met. And one of the things I had thought of at one point is to create a doctor nurse group, and there's something called social prescribing that
Mm.
is big in VR, where people tell, where a pharmacist, like in Europe, would prescribe that a patient go into a certain group and learn or talk to people. And that's fairly new.
Mm.
So we were looking for medical people to kind of figure out, how that would be done to, get people headsets and then, depending on what they're going through, prescribe for them to go to certain groups or certain apps to feel better.
Oh, so you're kind of are you talking about like put people into VR as a alternative for
Yes.
whatever their problems are?
Yeah, it's more of a social treatment versus a medical treatment, where there would be certain apps where people can go and maybe learn about their treatment or learn about what is healthy for them. And that's called social prescribing.
Hmm. Is social prescribing common?
In Europe, it's really, starting to grow. But in
Hmm.
America, where I'm from, we haven't heard much about it. Um,
Oh,
yeah, so hopefully it continues to grow.
okay. So why do you think it's growing in Europe but not America?
VR is big in Europe. I realize there are a lot of Europeans in VR,
Hmm.
and so I think that's why.
Okay. That's that's actually quite interesting. I would I'm surprised that it's not more common in America, at least like using alternative medicines versus using medications.
I don't think VR has been thought of as that yet. It's starting, but not as much as in Europe.
Okay. So why well, how much is there in terms of research of using VR as an alternative for like social prescriptions in Europe?
Well, I heard from one of the pharmacists in England who does that it's growing, but I don't know how big it is yet. It's just at the start.
Okay. Alrighty. So how what kinds of things could be social prescribed and I'll just ask that. I know you mentioned quite a bit. I'm just gonna be curious. Yeah.
What's your question?
Um, what kinds of things are would normally be socially prescribed for?
Like loneliness, like we talked about.
Hmm?
There could be some groups on loneliness
Okay.
where
Would
people go and meet other lonely people and maybe try to connect.
okay. Would social VR like VR chat or alt space be among the things that would be like prescribed to somebody?
It could be, depending on, what they have decided, or there could be other apps that are specifically made for that.
Okay. Well, that's actually pretty awesome to know. So, on lines of some of this medical stuff in the worlds you've did, what was the process like putting your world in for the EU competition that you won a prize for?
Um, yeah, the judges came to our world, and looked at, we had to hand in information, give, the information they asked for. It took several months, and then they came to our world and they decided, what we needed to fix, and we did that, and we happened to be one of the top teams.
Wow. So what kinds of things were they looking for in terms of submissions?
They wanted a world that people would visit, so we had in alt space, we had a lot of people visit our world. In VRChat, I think we have 4,000, but we had a lot in alt space. Um, they were looking for the education,
Hmm.
um, on the SDGs, which we had, and they wanted us to kind of make it interesting. And I think we did.
Hmm. Okay. Was How was the experience for you as being the one submitting and having them judge your world?
It was a great experience because my team that I, built, we became very good friends and we worked really well together.
Okay. Um, are you from when you first started into making the world to where you ended up, are you glad you made the attempt to do that and finish and follow through?
Yeah, definitely happy again. Like I said, it's one of the best things I've done lately is be part of
Mm.
VR, educate and build.
Okay. Um, how many different educational experiences have you seen outside of what you're doing in VR?
Well, I'm part of something called Educators in VR,
Mhm.
and it's all about, education on different subjects. So, a lot of educational experiences on VR, on building. So, yeah, many.
Okay. Now, when you first got into VR, did you expect to see as much educational experiences or programs?
No, I did not.
Oh, okay. How'd you feel coming in and seeing those educational programs and stuff going on?
It was very interesting. I was very interested in learning, so that kept me in VR.
Okay. So, I'll ask you another question, and it's going to be a little off the beaten path, but I'm kind of curious after seeing your nameplate for a bit. Where did Dr. Hardbeatz come from? The name?
Yeah, so because I'm a medical person, I was thinking heartbeats, like your heart beating.
Mhm.
And then because beats are also the BPMs of the music, like 30 beats per minute, 80 beats per minute. So I wanted to tie those two together. And so heartbeats are beats that are really good and hard, but they're also heartbeats, from the heart, which
Oh,
ties the medical into the music.
okay. What kind of music do you normally play here in VR?
Well, my favorite music is house and EDM, but I also like rap and hip hop. So we play every genre that the DJ would love to play. Um,
Mm.
so we have an EDM stage and a stage more Americanized music. EDM seems to be more European. So a lot of the European, field chatters love to go to that stage. And then we have like hip hop on R&B or Afro beats or breaks on the other stage.
Mm.
So people can choose between two different genres and enjoy themselves. They don't all have to listen, to the one stage that is playing.
Okay. So what kind of music from what you've seen in different and both platforms do you think the general VR audience prefers?
Well, in VR chat, because there's so many Europeans, EDM is very popular. In alt space, It was more American style pop and disco.
Hmm. Okay. That's actually quite interesting. How what kinds of music did you start playing with in terms of like DJing
I
and
started with house. I started with house and hip hop
okay. What made you want to choose those as like the first types of music to make sets with?
because those are the music genres I listened to, when I went out.
Okay. What was some of your first experience with house music, may I ask?
I think in '92 was the first time I went out and actually listened to house and really enjoyed it.
Oh. So how much different is the house scene from when you started in 92 to what you would expect today?
The house scene, the music has changed, but now we have faster music. So the BPMs used to be 120, 130. Now the BPMs are going to 140, 160. So everyone, all the young kids are into hard style now.
Mm.
And it takes really time for the older generation to get used to that. So we have some hard style DJs here. Um, and some people love hard style, but it's harder to get a crowd. They have their own kind of VRChat clubs that they go to. So the
Mm.
music it's changing is that the BPMs are going up.
Okay. That's interesting. Was that something you
Mm,
anticipated through your time in DJing or
No,
VR?
no, I did not anticipate that.
Hmm. What were some of your thoughts and feelings about seeing the change of in house music and taste?
Well, we I think we get used to what we love, and we all have trouble when there's change, but we all have to kind of accept it, get used to it, and move with the flow. Because once you're used to it, you might learn to love it. So I'm
Hmm.
not opposed to change. I'm really good with change. So I don't mind it.
Okay. Was that an easy adjustment for you to get used to?
Not so much,
Yeah.
but I do listen to it, and after a while your brain gets used to it, and you start to love it. There was one set somebody played, that was very good. I don't know what the BPMs was, but I do like vocals, so if there are vocals in there, I'm more easily adjusted.
Okay. Interesting. Um, what were some of your more favorite or memorable experiences within the VR clubbing or within VR DJing?
I went to a private club where people would sing and dance when I initially came into Vrchat, and that was fun, just watching people sing and dance. And I've been to some parties where I've gotten really into the music and started dancing and sweating and exercising. So yeah, I've had some fun parties and events when, surrounding music and dancing and singing.
Oh, okay. Do you find like going back from when you used to go out with your friends and listen to house in 92 to you experiencing the VR club scene, do you have a preference to either or?
Well, I mean, there's advantages and disadvantages to both.
Mm.
When you're hanging out with your friends, you have to either get on a flight, fly somewhere to go to a specific party, um, you know, pollute the earth, spend a lot of money, um,
Mm.
have to get a hotel. When you're tired, you have to get a cab to go home. In VR, you put on your Oculus, you spend no gas, you spend no extra money. Um, you don't pollute the earth. You go to the party when you're tired, you take the headset off and you go to bed. So, it's they both have their pros and cons, you
Okay.
know.
Okay. So I'm gonna I'm very glad found a good home here in VR clubbing. It is I've heard very similar sentiments from a lot of people. It's free, it is safer. I don't feel like I'm being rubbed up against and stuff of that nature. So I'm glad you're happier. Is a way to put it. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And the other thing is when you're in club with your friends and you want to go home or you want to take a break, you have to go to the hotel. You have to figure it out. Here you just take off your headset and you're done. Your break is there.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so you definitely feel safer.
Okay. Now I'm gonna ask another random question because it popped in my head, and I felt like I'm asking you while you're here speaking with me. What do you think there is for the any downsides of VR?
I think I went to a meeting where we did a song about VR with some ex-alt spacers, and one of the things they mentioned that I kind of agree with is that, the downside to VR is getting to know people that you may never meet sometimes. Like some people meet each other in VR and they would love to meet each other in real life and they can't do that. So that's one of the downsides, I think.
Okay. What about
And they care about each other. They've become so close. They're like family. They do
mm,
everything together in VR and yet they will may never see each other in real life.
mm, that is a very good point. Uh, that huge disconnect maybe globally, one's on in America and the other's in Asia, but at least
Hmm.
with VR, you kind of get a close enough illusion to being with someone without actually being with someone. It's not like you're
Right,
using
right,
Discord chat or anything like that, Skype.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It feels real.
Hmm. So I'm gonna ask you another question before coming close to wrapping up. One is, if someone wishes to do what you do, DJing, running an event, or maybe becoming a doctor in the medical field, what kinds of advice would you give someone?
I think when it comes to, becoming a DJ, I think, hanging out with people who do that and learning from them, um, it's probably the best way to go. They keep you interested in what you want to do. Um, and, running an event, hanging out with the people who run events in PR chat or other places and see what it takes for them to get that done. I met some amazing event hosts in PR chat that helped me, and I watched what they did and started doing the same. Um, Becoming a doctor, you can do it at any age. You have to, love the human body and want to learn about it and spend the time to learn. Um, if you love what you do, you don't feel like you work a day in your life. So I definitely love what I do in both spaces. So I'm just
Hmm.
having fun. Um, so becoming a doctor really has to be something that you don't just want to do because it sounds cool. It's something where you want to definitely heal and help other people feel better because when they say thank you after they're healed, it feels really good. But it takes a lot of time for you to get to that point where you can do it. So, it's not easily done.
Okay. And have you ever found yet an avatar that you feel home in, and what makes that avatar specifically, if there is one, that makes you want to use it more often
I
than not?
haven't finished my avatar yet. The avatar that I want would be an avatar that wears a white coat and has a stethoscope around her neck.
Hmm.
And then when she walks onto the back onto the in front of the decks, she clicks on her expressions, and the stethoscope disappear, and she puts a headphone on, and instead of a white coat, she's wearing like a neon lit suit. So she turned from an a doctor into a DJ. That would be really cool, with some effects, with some animation, just to be extra. Yeah.
Well, thank you so very much, Dr. Heartbeats, for coming on. I enjoyed learning about everything from the competition you won to the binaural heartbeats down to your DJ experience. So thank you for giving us your time. It's appreciated.
I appreciate I appreciate you spending the time to interview me, and I really enjoyed talking to you. And yeah,
Hmm.
thank you.
You're welcome. Where can the audience find you if they wish to find you?
Well, they just look for my name, Dr. Hardbeatz. I have a group here in Vrchat called Hardbeatz, and I have a group in Discord called Hardbeatz as well. So they can always join and find my events and come on Saturdays. Every Saturday, 6 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have a party here in Beatz. There's the world is called Beatz.
Okay. Well, again, thank you. I would tell Raptor to do the thing, but fortunately, Raptor's on a tractor pushing grain. So I will close out instead. No matter how old you
Okay.
are or what is it you want to do, take some time to learn a new skill. There's lots of places in VR, from people who want to teach you things from the medical field about the brain to DJs, club owners, people who gladly teach you how shaders work or Unity and Blender. Take some time, pick something, try something new. There's lots of it here. See you in the metaverse, folks.